Example 1, 5-6. James can drove. That's some great English. James can drive 402 miles with a full tank of gas. If James's gas tank can hold a total of 12 gallons, write an equation to represent this proportional relationship. Then determine how many full gallons of gas would be necessary for James to travel from Miami to Dundee, which is about 1,400 miles. Blah, so much information right there. You got to break it down. In word problems, you have to read more than once. Otherwise, it's just going to brain. Ouch. So James can drive 402 miles. So that's important. 402 miles with a full tank of gas. And a full tank of gas is 12 gallons. So our two variable quantities that we're dealing with here are miles and gallons. So what makes more sense? How many miles per gallon or how many gallons per mile? Miles per gallon, gallons per mile. Miles per gallon definitely makes more sense. So we're going to X out that one. And miles per gallon is what we're going with, which means that when we're figuring out our unit rate, we need to start with doing the division with miles on top and gallons on the bottom. So 402 miles divided by 12 gallons. And that's where you can go to your handy dandy calculator. 402 divided by 12, 33.5. And again, you're stealing. This is why we set the labels up, because now you have that already set up right here and don't have to think about it. 33.5 miles per gallon. Except the question was asking me to write an equation. So in order to write the equation, I had to first start by finding the unit rate. First, find unit rate. That's what I did right there. Second, make equation. That equation that we have from our notes is that y equals kx. And if we go back to our notes, when writing the equation, you're only filling in the number for k. X and y stay those variables. K is that constant unit rate that we found. So my equation is going to be y equals 33.5 goes in for k, and x and y stay as x and y. There's my equation. Boom. So then, the next part of this, because this asked me two questions here, the second question was then determine how many gallons would be necessary for James to travel 1,400 miles. So remember, the fact that 1,400 miles is from Miami to Dundee, that's kind of fluff. That's just information. So if he needs to go 1,400 miles, and he goes 33.5 miles per gallon, in this situation, we would use our equation. We can use our equation. Sorry, I had a blank for there a sec. We can use our equation to answer the second part of this question. So here, we can take that 1,400 miles and plug it in to our equation. The question is does it get plugged in for y or does it get plugged in for x? Well, in this situation, the miles per gallon, the per gallon part tells me that is the x. X is the number of gallons. Because that's the per. If I put a 1 in for x per 1 gallon, I would get that 33.5 out. So since we have the number of miles, we're going to plug that 1,400 in for y. So I'm going to use my equation, y equals 33.5x, and I'm going to put 1,400 in for y. solve that little baby two-step equation. 33.5 is being multiplied by x. So I'm going to divide both sides. And you could do this problem, you could solve this problem by simply just doing the division. You don't have to use the equation, but I just wanted to show you that you could use the equation. You might be able to realize that all you have to do is do the division and, okay. So 41, remember, when we're dealing with decimal points, you need to write down that decimal point and then round. 41.791044. Nope, lost it. 41.7910. That's good enough. ... Okay, so then just to answer a question, answer sentence. How many full gallons of gas would be necessary for James to travel? So now here we have to think about our rounding. If we're talking about gas, we don't want to run out of gas. We don't want to not have enough. So how many full gallons would we need if we need 41.79 blah, blah, blah? That would need to round up to 42 gallons of gas. Even if that number had just said like 41.2, we would still need to round up to 42 because we're talking about gallons of gas, and you can't make it if you don't have all of it. So boom, that was a little bit of a lengthy example, but